I have been pursuing, and I'll be happy to receive suggestions and comments for the presentation. Behind the theaters of peace and progress, there are also disturbing moments in Mizoram. Such disturbing moments undermines the peaceful and the progressive take. A wage-earning laborer once told me, living in Aizawl, working in Aizawl, once told me, the village council president told me to work on Sunday. I told the village council president that no one works on Sunday. But the village council president told the laborer, if you do not come and cement the floor for the village council's office, you cannot live and work in this locality anymore. Now, further he told me that since he sought his anger, I woke on Sunday and plastered the village council office floor. On August 4, 2014, the Ceylon Times reported with the headline, Mizo body to conduct Chakma head counts. Here is the news excerpt. Concern over an abnormal increase of Chakma population in southern Mizoram, the state's largest organization, Young Mizo Association, has decided to conduct a census on Chakma population in the state to check Chakma infiltration. The census on Chakma will be conducted in the Chakma Autonomous District Council areas in southern Mizoram and other parts of the state. I would like to remind here that such head counts are not recent. YMA started the process of head count in the villages of Mizoram to check the influx of so-called foreigners since 1998. The situation of Chin in Mizoram. The dislike towards Chins in Mizoram is socially constructed in the Mizo society. This social construction of dislike of the Chins in Mizoram is based with the notion of ideal Christian way of life. In other words, it is a non-political way of looking at identity transformations. Because the notion of dislike in Mizoram is not based on the struggles of power over resources, claims for power and legitimacy, and in my friend Mirza's work, they put it as Chins and Mizos, they don't compete for the low-level wage-earning jobs. It is in one of his papers. I would like to refer to, quote him for that. And so, now, the thing is like the social construction of dislike towards Chin ethnics per se has been solely due to the anti-social elements practiced by the few Chin migrants within Mizoram. Also, most of the civil society organizations and the powerful Presbyterian Church of Mizoram usually condemn such unwelcoming acts as unchristian by overlooking the poverty and livelihood issues of the Chins in Mizoram. Christianity saved the realization of Mizo identity. We can have a good analysis of this from Madam Joy's work. The dominant Mizo ethnic group often viewed Chin migrants into Mizoram as bootleggers, indulging in illicit brewing of liquor and selling of drugs to the God-fearing Mizos. The massive influx of Chins into Mizoram was due to the porous and not well-defended border. There are 4 border checkpoints in the 500-kilometer-plus borderline between Myanmar and Mizoram. Chin economic migrants in Mizoram comprises of almost all the 80% of the migrants in Mizoram. They work as a wage laborers in farming, quarry, carpentry, which are mainly in the informal sectors. I would like to just do a little bit of digression here. One of the most famous rock singer called Rosang Lena, in his lyrics he says, "We are the people of the same origin but divided under the sun." So the Chins face daunting problems on protection, livelihood, health and education. On August 29, 2013, a mob of 60 individuals from Wafai village razed down 40 houses of Saikumphai village at the Champhai district. It is on the borderlands of Mizoram and Myanmar. Saikumphai village was established in 1963. It is a stone throw from the Triao River, which remains as the benchmark for border between Mizoram and Myanmar. Bafai villagers took laws in their own hands. Many activists in Chin Hills, including activists in Mizoram, condemned the Bafai villagers' unlawful action. Bafai villagers claimed that Saikumphai village is the epicenter of illegal trade, and Saikumphai village housed mostly illegal migrants from the Chin Hills. I would like to reflect about the law. What is the cross-border movement law, passport entry rules here? Cross-border movement of Chins towards Mizoram under the Rule 4 of Passport Entry Rules 1950 were exempted from visa and passport rules. This was mainly due to the close cultural ties between the hill settlers at the border between India and Burma. The Gazette of India 1968, Part 2 says that passport entry rules would be exempted to every members of the hill tribes who is either a citizen of India or a citizen of the Union of Burma and who is ordinarily resident in any area within 50 kilometers on either side of the Indo-Burma border. Now, this 40-kilometer benchmark has been reduced to 16 kilometers with another Home Ministry notification which came out in July 21st, 2010. Now, the point I want to make here is most of the Chins, they move to Aizawl and they don't follow passport entry rules at all. Indo-Myanmar border is one of the most, all these illegal crossings are going on. Now, sometimes the Chins moves more than 200 kilometers away. Sometimes they don't pay the fees, sometimes they sneak in. Only few law-abiding citizens from Chins, they pay their fees, they renew their, it has to be renewed every 1 month. Only few people do it. Sometimes I thought of going there to the Jokota border and then do a filming for a week. How many Chins pays, how many doesn't pay, and the cross-border movement there. On 2013, journalists from Mizoram, they travel to the Chin Hills. So the journalist tries to reveal the old and the closed ethnic relations between the Chin and the Mizo. The Mizo elders in Mizoram maintained that while the Chin state was part of another country, they were not different from the Mizo in any significant way. They explained that Chin and Mizo shared a culture and language, and that in many cases even had kin living across the border. Although the border was drawn during the colonial times, the people have always considered themselves with, quote, wrongly divided, they are veterans, unquote. Now, I would like to highlight a bit on Bruce here, the Bruce issues. On 24th March 2014, 5 major NGOs in Mizoram staged a protest rally in Aizawl against the Election Commission of India's decision to allow Bru tribes to cast electronic voting matching ballots on their 2014 parliamentary elections from the relief camps not in Mizoram but in northern Tripura for the lone Mizoram Lok Sabha seat. A coordination member of these 5 powerful NGOs came out with a statement in the All India Radio. Here is the statement. We send a memorandum to the Election Commission of India in our opposition against Bru to cast their vote from relief camps in North Tripura. The joint NGOs demand that Bru should repatriate back to Mizoram before the Lok Sabha poll, and those refused should be deleted from the electoral rolls. The Bru relief camps are breeding grounds for armed goons indulging in series of abduction, kidnapping and extortion to disturb the peaceful tapestry of Mizoram. Bru fled from Mizoram first in 1977, again in 2009, due to the ethnic animosity and couple of feuds between Mizo and Bru community inside Mizoram. Bru leaders accuse Mizo NGOs for attempting to deprive Bru electoral rights and urge the Election Commission of India never to fulfill the Mizo NGO's demand, but their demand was not fulfilled. During the central YMA leadership under Puti Sangkunga, 1998 to 2000, which is unfair and unconstitutional. The reason is electoral roll is a white paper. It can be accessed and checked only by the authorized section of the Government of India. By 1997-1998, YMA demands new electoral roll list of Mizoram to the Government of Mizoram. The intention was to delete many non-Mizo from the electoral roll list of Mizoram. We can find this lot of writings in the state list in South Asia by Dept Singh, Panalal Dars, Yatrik Andres in India, and even in other editions by Lakshmi Bhatia. We can find all these electoral roll issues. So such demand from the YMA towards the Mizoram government revealed the intolerant nature of YMA. This is one of the natures of YMA's leaders' position on the inclusive, exclusive identity issues, insider-outsider issues, or so-called the Mizo or non-Mizo identity issues within Mizoram. It was indeed one of the tainted political acts of YMA. If we go to the constitution of YMA, they are supposed to wash off their hands from political activities, but they are still tainted with political acts. YMA still conducts the filtering and deleting of many non-Mizo names from the electoral roll list of Mizoram. It was a policy initiated by Mizoram to minimize so-called the influx of outsiders. It was a pure exercise of nativism. Inclusive, exclusive tendency within the Mizo society was promoted by YMA. It lingers even today. One of the YMA leaders told me that we felt that the foreigners, so-called the outsiders who infiltrated illegally, so-called foreigners, should not be a leader in the decision-making of Mizoram. YMA wants Mizo to make decisions for the Mizo society, not by the foreigners. Those who were born outside, brought up outside of Mizoram are foreigners. These are his word, not my word, are foreigners, and they cannot be the chief minister or any kind of minister. That is against the Mizo socio-cultural traditional values. It is against the Constitution of India too. YMA is a part of Mizo social life. Without YMA, Mizo society, culture and history would have been altogether different.
The paper has been entitled Assamese Culture, Tea, Food and Dining. Introduction. Assamese people have basically remained hospitable in nature, who would take great delight in welcoming guests to their households and entertaining them at least with a cup of tea or offering them tamul pan, placing it beautifully and also symbolically in a horai or bota. Now tamul pan is the betel nut or the betel leaf that we take. The culture of the Northeast in general also centers around betel nut, and it is a common sight in the entire region that people spend much of their time cutting raw pieces of betel nut and taking it regularly with betel leaves and dyeing several times a day. The capital of Assam, Guwahati, derives its name from its association with betel nut market. In Assamese, betel nut is called Goa. The town that hosted a large market for betel nuts came to be called Guwahati. Assamese society is basically an agrarian society and is a regular rice eaters. Assamese food culture is not much different from some other cultures of the Northeast that primarily centers around rice and tea. This article makes an attempt at exploring what is distinctively Assamese food culture in terms of its tea, food and dining, and to identify some core elements of the Assamese food culture that have remained constant despite changes being incorporated into food habits and food patterns. Why this special fascination for rice, tea and betel nut? This is what the article seeks to explore. Some distinctive traits of Assamese culture. In Bangladesh, China and Thailand, instead of how are you, people usually ask, have you eaten your rice today? Also in China, people do not say Happy New Year. They usually say, may your rice never burn. Similarly, in this northeast part of India, especially in Assam, the usual conversation begins with, "Have you taken your rice?" In more Bhakotia, that is a devotional terms, "Saul muthi dhora holne," which means, "Have you taken your rice or bhat khalane?" Usually, Assamese people are very hospitable by nature, and meal is to be offered to anyone who happens to be around during lunchtime. Not only that, such uninvited guest is to be received wholeheartedly. It is indirectly a service to God, for it is said, "Duporiyar otiti hoikhot damodar," which means anyone who happens to come during lunchtime is but God. Although tradition has changed and gone other days of innocence and selflessness, much has not changed even now. If not meal, at least tea is to be served for any guest, and it is not a very good manner to take the guest's permission for this simple act of hospitality. No one feels comfortable to ask, "Will you like to have a cup of tea?" It is an unwritten code that guests are to be served with sahtamu, means tea and betel nut. Assamese people take great care not only in what is to be the specific food item, but the mode of cooking and dining is equally important. Rice has remained one of its major meals, and rice could be boiled, steamed, or wrapped in leaves. Usually, rice is taken by hands after washing both the hands properly with soap and other local substitutes. However, one is not expected to use both the hands while eating, although it may take time for primitive learners and for children to learn refined table manners. The following proverb gives a vivid description of the scene when one is eating, not in a very elegant manner. In Assamese, it is, "Doho angulire khai burha hesu kulyale hejai," which means although the 10 fingers are used in eating, but it is a thumb that has to push the food into the mouth. Traditional meal in Assam begins with a khar, a class of dishes named after the main ingredient, and ends with a tenga or a sour dish. If one eats what one eats, one need not be surprised if an Assamese is known as a khar khwa khomya. Farmers who have to leave for the field early morning and have to work till late eat cooked rice soaked overnight, which is called as poita bhat, garnished with mustard oil, onions. Poita bhat is also popular otherwise. Kids play a game singing, "Bor ghorar mekuri horu ghorole jai, pura mas poita bhate pet bhorai khai." A cat from the big house goes to a smaller one and ransacks that house for roasted fish and soaked rice. Although fish curry, masor tenga is favorite, so is mar bhat and aloo pitika, boiled rice, and potato mash. Hak bhat, rice with green leaves that contains much nutritional values regularly taken. One can easily pick manimoni, podina, lai, lafa, nefafa, mosunduri from one's garden. Cultural Journeys talks about diversity of the culinary art that exists across the various states in India and the traditional way of serving food in a thali, a metal plate or banana leaf in which lunch or dinner is served in India. Usually, banana leaf or kolpat plays a significant role in Assam when rice and food is served with respect in a banana leaf. That is also common practice in community feasts and gatherings, especially in places and villages where such leaves were available, but now it is replaced with paper plates, thalis due to necessity. Among very common and popular Assamese curries are from Norohingo, Modhulok, or Thekia hak, which is the young shoots of fern, and so on. One good thing about Assamese people is they can be equally satisfied with duck meat or with mahor dal, hahor mangso, and rice beer, variously named apong, ju, or laupani, is popular among most plain tribes. Side dishes called pitika or mashes is a signature characteristic of this cuisine. The most popular is aloo pitika, mashed potatoes, garnished with raw onions, mustard oil, green chilies, and sometimes boiled eggs. Korisa tenga is mashed fermented bamboo shoot, sometimes pickled in mustard oil and spices. Karoli is fermented, mashed mustard, seed to which a khar has been added, and kaduvi to which an acidic agent, lemon juice, dried, has been added. Pitikas are also made from roasted or steamed vegetables, tomatoes and eggplants being very popular. Small fishes, etc. roasted separately, wrapped in banana leaves and mashed into pitika along with mustard oil, salt, chili are called patodia, literally in a leaf. Okay, let me leave this out. There is no rigid time for the people to take snacks or light food, but generally it can be seen that In the light, food are taken during the morning and evening time. But for the guest, there is no particular time and it is served as any time of the day. Similarly, in different times of the year, when there is any social or family occasion, snacks or light food act as a main part of the occasion. The popularity of these food items can be seen. The main food items of the snacks or light food are corn and milk. Along with these items, jaggery or gur or sugar is served for the taste. These foodstuffs are produced locally, and it can be said that Assamese light food has a great value. From corn, different items like muri, hurung, akhoi, sira, hando, korai guri and so on are prepared. It can be noted that though all these items are prepared from corn, but still every item has its own identity regarding its taste and quality. Similarly, from the powder of rice, different types of pithas or cakes has been made, like the til pitha, gila pitha, tel pitha, tekeli mukhodia pitha, pani pitha, heneki pitha, pat pitha, boja pitha, and on and on and on. I can go on about pithas. And in the same time, these foodstuffs has given the Assamese people a taste and quality in life. Along with snacks and other light foods, tea is the essential part of Assamese society. Tea is an essential element of Assamese socio-cultural life, and one cannot imagine one without the other. Assam is famous for its tea and also for its tea culture. This tea culture has another side to it. It usually matches with the easygoing, lahe-lahe lifestyle of Assamese people who would like to dream or daydream over a cup of tea, be nostalgic or sentimental, and especially on off days when one would have the time and leisure to get up late and then begin his or her day with a cup of tea and a newspaper on his or her hand. The following proverb characterizes the slow, laid-back life in Assam. Tuponir sikun pua, kotarir sikun gua. The best time to sleep is early morning. The best thing to do with a knife is to cut betel nut. Ultimately, it so happens that any time becomes tea time. Having a cup of tea is considered to be the most regular thing at any time of the day. Bed tea, noon tea, evening tea, high tea, at any occasion. And tea is welcome always at all odd times. Although breakfast tea is usually saf jolpan, tea served with snacks, sometimes tea with snacks is also expected at afternoon tea, especially for special guests who have come from a distance. Usual snacks would be sira, hando, kumol saul, bora saul with milk or lusi bhaji. During festivals, especially during bihus, pithas would be served. Dry ground rice powder is given a cylindrical shape with sesame or coconut fillings, and accordingly til or pitha or narikol or pitha is made. There are also other kinds of pithas, gila pitha, sunga pitha, jonai pitha, bokul pitha, and so on, named after their shapes and fillings. After consuming the main food or snack, there is provision of mouth freshener. Betel nut and leaf is used immensely. In Assam, the local products like the betel nut, leaf, lime, and tobacco are taken together. Many times, along with betel nut, leaf, pepper twigs, camphor are also taken. Usually, how food is served that is more important than what particular food item is served. One maintains hygiene, like taking bath regularly, wearing washed and clean clothes, washing utensils properly, as the kitchen space, especially the domain of cooking range and the sacred space of Kukhai Ghor or Puja Ghor, becomes synonymous, and ultimately entering into the Pak Ghor or the kitchen becomes a religious symbolic. Cooking and serving becomes an act of worship and an act of celebration. It is with more emphasis on home management with heart than with head that ultimately the caring wife has her day than the one who is efficient but indifferent. The cooking by a wife is defined thus: Khor randhoni khor barhoni poek laghone jai, ura randhoni ura barhoni poek tini khaje khai. A hasty cook and a hasty brew, and the husband goes fasting. A slow cook and a slow brew, and the husband eats 3 meals a day. Occasionally, men assist in kitchen work, but when it is mostly run by the women folk, lifelong wisdom has taught that male members of the house to maintain neutral positions on issues related to kitchen matters, as too many cooks would spoil the meal. If luck favors, they may be rewarded for their neutrality with additional cream and curd in their meal. A tongue-in-cheek proverb about the uneasy relationship between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law is Hahu Bwari Ghor Kune Khai Gakiror Hor, which means the mother-in-law and her daughter-in-law are in the house, who is to drink the cream. Cultural Journeys talks about diversity of the culinary art that exists across the various states in India and the traditional way of serving food in a thali, a metal plate or banana leaf in which lunch or dinner is served in India. Food served in banana leaf or kolpat was a common practice, especially in villages and community functions when banana leaf was available. Nowadays, paper plates and other disposable plates replace these traditional ways of serving food, or kahbati, and these utensils also had many religious uses, and the most unique utensils, bata and banbata, are used to give offerings and also to offer food items to respectable guests. Some background ideas. There is a postulate. Do I have time?
You have a little bit more than 5.
There is a postulate related to the origin of rice and continental drift. Based on the postulate, the ancestors of common rices had evolved into cultivated rices, and they have differentiated to several ecotypes of rices according to Gondwana land, separated into several continents. As a matter of fact, the issue where and when common rices were domesticated has been unsettled. Decanul postulated in his book that rice culture first occurred in China, where historical records were the earliest. Babylov considered that rice domestication occurred in India. According to Cheng, 1976, domestication of rice in Asia may have occurred independently at about the same time in many places along a broad belt extending from the Ganges plains below the eastern foothills of the Himalayas across northern Burma, northern Thailand, Laos and Vietnam to southwest and southeast China.